I also, been thinking about, media, right? And I think we've both been a little unsettled by some of the capitulative nature of specifically TYT when it comes to certain issues, whether it's trans rights or some stuff on immigration or some stuff on, BLM.
Here we go. We're 24 seconds in and Transformers have been named. There we go. That's basically the left in a nutshell right now. That's Francisca Fiorentini, and I'm disappointed. She's funny, she's smart, and she's just in that. This is where she is. It's 24 seconds in. We have to talk about Transformers. For what reason? This is going to be involving the Vanguard are reacting. So this is a reaction to a reaction, but this is Francesca Fiorentini from the Bituation Room interviewing or having a conversation with Mondale Robinson. The background of this on the left is this is involving the Young Turks as well. Live on air with Ben Dixon. So we got another, you see how the drama just links? And that's, I think, why it gets a lot of views because Francesca Fiorentini links to the Young Turks because she has a show on the Young Turks right now. Then Mondale Robinson had a show on there. I think he stopped it. That was his crash out. Then it's the Vanguard, and then it's Ben Dixon. And let's get back to the clip, and I'll break it down for you a little bit more.
I think that obviously I had Cenk on the show and we got into it a little back and forth, but the idea of trying to break bread with the right in order to come to agreement on certain issues is a losing strategy and absolutely sacrifices communities that are in the crosshairs, quite literally, of, the white nationalists on the other side.
These are trash. And it's weird because I don't know her, so I like her content and her vibe, but these are trash human beings. What she's saying is that she doesn't want to work with people on the right. Well, they just had Cenk on stage, gave him a standing ovation at the TPUSA event and America Fest. One of the biggest. TPUSA is the real RNC of the populist right of the right. They're the real Republican National Committee. Them, Tyler Bowen, Charlie Kirk, and all of them. They put in the work. They do all this stuff. They're the real ones. And they had Cenk on, and they gave him a stand. They said, "Hey, you come over to our house, and we'll get you food, have a seat on the couch." This is, it was about 30 to 40 days, I forget, before they gave him the standing ovation. He had crashed out on Trump and J6ers. They bring him in 35 days after that. He crashes out against, we covered that just yesterday, again on J6ers, Enrique Tarrio, and the rest. So the right is always welcoming there, as long as you're not critical of that blue and white flag. They're always, well, even Cenk is, and he's on there. So as long as you're not on the right and critical of the blue and white flag. But they're welcoming you. Come to the crib. Come on, have a seat. You need something to drink? Let's talk. And then this is what the left does, or whatever you want to call this. What do you get in return?
Whether it's trans rights or some stuff.
What do you get in return? Whether it's trans light, what?
On immigration or some stuff on, BLM. I think that obviously I had Cenk on the show and we got into it a little back and forth, but the idea of trying to break.
So let's break bread, have a seat on the couch, you bring somebody in, you're the host. And what do they say in return?
Bread with the right in order to come to agreement on certain issues is a losing strategy and absolutely sacrifices communities that are in the crosshairs, quite literally, of.
She sounds like a female bishop at a DC church. F you. What? I don't understand why it's always one way. And then now you say, well, there's nothing to break bread on with people on the right. Why is that? Who said that? The right's been more than open and over forgiving.
The white nationalists on the other side. But you recently said that you were going to stop. You were a contributor to TYT for a couple of years there. Can you just tell me about your work with them and what caused you recently to say that you were going to stop?
Yeah, I think, the normalizing of everything that this conversation has been complaining about, you and I complaining about, the normalizing of that at the expense. You and I just sat down and had a wonderful, critical conversation of the party that we associate with, the Democratic Party. And it was not in trying to normalize MAGA and pretend that MAGA is not a danger to people's lives or lived experience. And I think when I see Cenk and I see Ana on interacting in that way, where they're pretending that things aren't as they are, and they're this both sides, I'm frustrated beyond belief because less with Ana because I have very limited interactions with her.
So this guy has a, or used to have a show on there. He went on with Ben Dixon and had a very infamous on the left fallout where he just announced out of the blue, "I'm not messing with the TYT people anymore." So he's like, he's worried about them swerving towards MAGA. We just covered Cenk. Really, maybe that's why they do that, because they don't want to lose their left card. We just covered Cenk really saying the J6ers should still be in jail. Same take as Lindsey Graham. We saw Lindsey Graham with that take recently. Let's get back to the Vanguard, Francesca Fiorentini, and Mondale Robinson.
But more Jen, a person who sat beside me and called me brother and said that, oh, I believe that you should run for president, right? For me to hear that from you, and then you normalize the people who are threatening my life, it's more than unsettling. It's off-putting, and it's also the danger that you.
What are you talking about with people threatening his life?
Will risk the other 75
Can I
people
put
that
together?
work at TYT.
Yeah, what's up? When Cenk looks at Mondale Robinson and understands who he is and what he's accomplished, he's the mayor, he's got a progressive conviction, and he says, "You know what, man, you should run for president." Do you think that's Cenk just being like a used car salesman, con artist who wants to flatter, Mondale and cuddle up to him a little bit, make him wow, this guy?
Just to be clear, I am not a fan of Mondale Robinson. You can just see how he's crossing his legs. And it's not, I mean, that's not a detailed thing. And people made fun of young Nick, how he had his legs crossed. So that's not the whole take, but it's not even the legs being crossed. It's just, he is really smug. This dude, Mondale Robinson here, he just rubs me the wrong way. I don't even get that from Francesca. She's still likable to me. This dude, I don't like him at all. I didn't know anything about him until he was on with Ben Dixon, but I even like Ben Dixon more than him, and Ben Dixon has gone crazy.
Guy thinks really highly of me? Or do you think Cenk has undergone such an ideological pivot that he's really gone through such a 180 because of Trump's second election that everything about his politics has changed? Because I think it's so revealing the way that he talks about Mondale now.
Notice when we go to the left, it's literally all emotions. It's transformers. What about transformers? It's immigration. What about immigration? It's about Black Lives Matter. What about Black Lives Matter? It's about Mondale and their relationships. It's all emotions, almost like I'm transforming, and it's a good balance because we talked about some heavier stuff with the media, and then what did we talk about when we started the show? The immigration in a detailed way. Actually, not that detailed, but talking about what's happening, not just in general. And you talk to them, it's like Days of Our Lives. I actually used to watch Days of Our Lives back in when it was about 97, 1997. Just the way that my classes worked at school, I was, doing work or whatever in the dorm room, and Days of Our Lives would be on. And I actually started watching it. The soap operas they move so slow, but they're kind of interesting. No different. My wife and I were watching this Viking show on Netflix, and you might have seen that. And it's just a drama, it's just basically it's a soap opera. Let's get back to the clip.
Versus the way that he apparently spoke about him just 12 months ago.
Well, to be fair to Cenk, he actually reserved a lot of his anger for Mondale. It's not like he's smeared him in the same way that he's smeared Ben Dixon. Do you remember that clip we reacted to where Cenk was like, Mondale's a good guy.
That's true.
I don't know why he didn't call me. He should have, hashed this out in private. But
do they do this on the right? I mean, I guess Candace did a little bit about. I didn't see it. I just saw the title. I want to get into that. I didn't even see what happened with Jeremy Boring, and everyone was talking about it. I didn't even see it. I don't know what happened. That's right in my wheelhouse. Why didn't the algorithm give me that? Jeremy Boring, I heard, said something about Brett Cooper. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's off topic from here, but my point is, you don't see this as much on the right, to my knowledge. You'll see stuff like Tim Pool and Daily Wire. It's like from a business standpoint, and then we talk about the landscape of the media. But there's not really too much of this drama stuff. Saw a little bit of it with Steven Crowder and his marriage, but it was really more from the standpoint of, well, you project yourself to be this type of, religious or whatever, faith-based person, or your family persona, and it didn't match. It wasn't just for drama. Just like the Nala stuff. Nala is a famous fans only worker who just converted to, is she Catholic? No, is Christianity, or I forgot what she is, but Christian, and kind of wholesome, but is it real or not? Other than that, do we really have relationship drama on the other side of this? I don't see it as much. Let's get back to the drama though.
but I don't think he's a grifter or something like that, which was interesting, right? That he seemingly has more respect for Mondale, even though Mondale left in a far more aggressive and, sort of adversarial way.
On Ben's show.
Exactly.
My takeaway from this at the end, don't go anywhere. My takeaway from this at the end is to give a shout out to people on, I would say, the real left who don't get involved in this nonsense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Ben stopped working for TYT, he did it quietly. He did it privately. Mondale, when he left the Young Turks, did it in about as dramatic and, intense a way you possibly could. But Cenk, for whatever reason, still seemingly has more respect for the guy. And I do think it's more about the fact that, Trump's reelection kind of just broke Cenk's brain, and he, in a combination with the desire to get more attention and money, decided that he had to go in this direction. But yeah, as we've documented pretty frequently, Cenk was singing an entirely different tune 6 months before the election, 4 months before the election, calling Donald Trump a straight up Nazi, and yeah, asking people like Mondale to run so that he wouldn't have to. I remember that was his line. I reached out to all these different progressives, mayors, etc., trying to get them to run for president. They all said no, so I had to step up to the plate. That was his line. That was one of his excuses for why he himself ran for president. But yeah, I think in his heart of hearts, Cenk probably does still have some respect for Mondale.
Right, lived experience or life, work. But like JR has been at TIT since the beginning, so it belongs to him as well. Jake has in the lower third of the screen all the time. It says "You're my boss," talking about the people who subscribe, the listeners. If he believed that, he would walk away right now, because he is not the TYT that we subscribe to. He's not the TYT that we need in this moment. There's nothing. The Young Turk has become the old turncoat, and he has to accept that and step away if he truly cares about the other shows on that network, so as to not sink that ship. Because right now he's away. And I don't think people are being honest about the danger of normalizing talking about having drinks and beer with people like the folk on the right.
Charlie Kirk, Tim
oh
Pool.
my God. Yeah. I mean, and I mean, the idea that Anna had all the smoke for Karen Bass and didn't once in her rants on Twitter mention anything about climate change. She didn't, not once did she mention anything about the 800, that LA is not a city, it's a county. It is a city, but it's also a county, and these fires are not just in the city. The lack of nuance that exists in them, because of, some people are calling it a grift. I don't know what it is. It's, if they're trying to keep up with the algorithm, it's scary to me that we are playing this game with people's lives. And that is not hyperbole. When I saw it, and I literally almost threw my computer.
Okay. Yeah, they might be trying to play with the algorithm, but Karen Bass was literally in Ghana as it happened. You don't have anything to say. Is that nuanced enough, or do we need to get more nuance? What was she doing in Ghana? Who was she hanging out with in Ghana? We can get more nuance if you want, but here's the takeaway. Let's look at a website or YouTube channel that's actually, I mean, Francisca Fiorentini does talk issues, don't get me wrong, but they get too much into that drama stuff. They do a lot of that. And Vanguard's really into it, the drama stuff.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.